Good afternoon. Thank you for joining me today. We are having a workshop focused on utility adjustment petitions for landlords. My name is Patricia, and I'm one of the managers over here at the Rent Stabilization Division for the City of Mountain View. And it is November 21st, 2024. Let's jump in. So, like we have in the other workshops, I am going to provide a brief overview of the process for anyone who's new out there to get caught up to speed on what to expect and what you need to do to be successful in this. I'm going to go over key points of the regulations and start the actual petition process. And I'm going to give a quick demonstration of the forms and the standard workbook, and then I'm going to jump into the next set of information that you'll be receiving from us once you actually provide your submission to the division. I'm going to go over the first few parts of this workshop pretty quickly because I have provided it before. And then from there, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the updated forms and what you should be expecting from the division through the beginning part of this process. At any time, if you have any questions, please go ahead and raise your hand or put the question in the Q&A section of the functions in Zoom, and I will get to your question. If your question appears to be something that I will cover later in the presentation, just know that I'm not answering it because I will be covering it. So here we go, jumping on in. We're going to start with an introduction to the changes in utility billing. This is the big topic we're talking about today. So in the regulations for the CSFRA, rent includes utilities and is subject to rent increase limitations. This means that only one rent increase can be given every 12 months. It's subject to yearly rent increase limitations, what we call the Annual General Adjustment of Rent, or AGA, and there can be no fluctuating rental costs within a 12-month period. And this is the important part. This is where RUBS comes into play. If you have RUBS going on, those utility charges, which are part of rent, increase or decrease throughout the calendar year, and that is actually unlawful under the CSFRA. So to deal with that issue, on December 18th, 2023, just about a year ago now, the Rental Housing Committee, who oversees the division and acts similarly to the City Council, sets our policy direction for our division, adopted regulations clarifying that utilities are part of rent for fully covered units. And what does that mean? That means that property owners need to have an opportunity to incorporate utilities that were previously charged or are being charged through RUBS, through the ratio utility billing services, into the set total rent amount. So to do that, there is a one-time utility adjustment petition, which is a process to incorporate those utilities that are currently charged separately and not sub-metered into a fixed amount included in a tenant's total rent. So we're taking the physical current space rent plus the separate utilities, adding them together and coming up with a total rent. Landlords need to complete and submit a petition to qualify for and apply this rent adjustment. And to go over briefly what properties are affected, only fully covered properties are affected by this regulation. That means that it does not cover partially covered units. So we do have some properties in Mountain View where they're mixed. And if you have a property where you have fully covered and partially covered units, your partially covered units are not covered by this regulation. And it also does not apply to mobile homes. So this is only for those fully covered units built before 1995. And to become in compliance, all property owners of fully covered CSFRA units need to complete and submit this utility adjustment petition. So what are the key points of the regulations? All utilities that are paid by the tenant directly to the landlord or through a third-party billing service are included in rent. This could include water, sewer, garbage. It could also include PG&E, or it could also include things that are usually typically associated with PG&E, like gas and electrical utilities, if those are charged through a third-party billing service. If they're not, if they are sub-metered, And those utility charges are paid directly by the tenant to the utility service provider or are fully submetered, and you can prove the exact usage for each unit. Those units and bills are exempt from this process. So essentially the tenant right now has kind of two bills that they're paying. They're paying their ratio utility billing services bill for their typically water, sewer, and trash. And they also, if they're submeter, they're also paying PG&E for their electric and gas utilities. This bill under this system, the one that's charged to RUBS, goes away through this process and becomes a part of total rent. If a property owner already includes utilities in the fixed amount of rent, this is okay, and that is exactly what should continue. You will need to file a petition, but it's a shortened version of the petition just to allow for tenants to be able to respond and say no, should you not actually have your utilities fixed in rent. They need to be able to dispute what your claim is. So there's a really short version of the petition that you would complete with us, and then we would serve that on your tenant. What are the key points of the regulations? So for tenancy starting March 1st or after, new tenants, the rent amount must include their utilities. So you need to figure out some sort of way to determine how much you want to charge tenants for their total rent. That includes the physical space rent and utility costs. Obviously, if the unit is submetered for any kind of utility, that is going to be a separate bill, and those separate bills that come directly from that utility provider to the tenant are still allowed. The rental agreement must state the total rent amount and specify the types of utilities and housing service fees that are included. So for example, you have your lease. Under your lease, you would have physical space rent, $1,100. Utilities, $200. Parking fee, $50. Total rent equals $1,350. For existing tenancies that were in effect prior to March 1st, RUBS can continue for those existing tenants until the utility adjustment petition is filed and approved, the rent adjustment notice is given to the tenants, and the rent adjustment goes into effect. The process transitions separate utility charges that are billed through RUBS to one fixed amount. And then finally, for tenant petitions, most tenant petitions related to utilities are paused during this transition process. However, if you are unlawfully charging new tenants utilities through RUBS, they can file a petition, or if there's other reasons why the utility charges specifically need to be addressed through an unlawful rent petition and they don't fall under certain categories, they still can be filed. It's just a little bit more nuanced. So again, this is what I just mentioned. New tenancies, RUBS is not allowed. Total rent must include utilities. The rental agreement must state the total rent amount and specify the types of utilities and housing service fees included. And utility charges paid directly by tenants to the utility service provider or are submetered are exempt. And again, this is the information for existing tenancies. So one thing I do want to note here that I did not mention is that utility charges for vacant or newly rented units may not be allocated to existing rental units through RUBS or similar systems. So that's really important. You can no longer do your have the RUBS billing systems include vacant units in the unit count. For a limited time, utilities can continue to be charged separate from rent for existing tenancies until these petitions are finalized for your property. And I'm going to skip over this. This is more detailed information about the restrictions on tenant petitions related to utilities at this time. Okay, before I jump into the utility adjustment petition process, is there any questions out there? It looks like I have maybe one. What if we do not charge? You still have to file a condensed version of the utility petition with us and allow time for your tenants to respond to the petition. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and jump into the next phase of this webinar, if there are no more questions. And it looks like there are no more questions, so I'm going to jump right in. This is our implementation plan, where we've been and where we're going. For phase 1 and 2, perform research and receive input and adopt regulations. We have already done those. We have also completed phase 3 at this point, which is implementing the petition process. Obviously, we're live. You can file and submit your petitions with us now. Phase 4 is underway, and this will continue to be underway. This is outreach and education. So we will continue to do outreach and education throughout this process. And phase 5 and 6 are currently live. So starting in September, property owners were able to begin to file petitions with us. And there are rolling deadlines. If you are in a property with more than 20 units, you need to have your petition submitted to us for review by no later than February 28th. If you do not, there are some serious repercussions. If you are a property with 6 to 20 units, you need to have your petition submitted to our division by May 31st. And if you are a property with 1 to 5 units, you need to have your petition to us by August 31st of 2025. If you see below, we will continue to process the petition for as long as it takes to finalize and finish these. And this is that information that I just shared in a little bit different of a visual. And again, this applies to all landlords of fully covered CSFRA units, even if you include utilities in rent at this time. So there are 3 different workbooks that you can choose from. We have 1 petition form and 3 workbooks. The form will help you figure out which workbook is applicable to you. Workbook A is our standard workbook, which most people will use, and it has the information to complete the process if you have at least one of your utilities, water, sewer, or trash, that are paid by the tenant directly to the landlord or through a third-party billing service like RUBS, and gas and electric are paid to PG&E by the tenant for their direct usage. Option B is our all utilities workbook, where at least one of the utilities below water, sewer, and trash are paid by the tenant directly to the landlord or through a third-party billing service like RUBS, and either gas, electric, or both are paid through RUBS. And then finally, our last option is a condensed version of the workbook. And this is for properties where RUBS is not being used. So either the tenant pays everything directly to the utility service provider for their direct usage, or they have utilities that are already included in rent, or they have utilities that are included in rent and pay directly to the service provider. And so to figure that out, again, the petition form itself will help you to determine that, or you can give us a call and we can help you figure out which workbook you should be using. You always want to start with the petition form because it's going to help you figure out what you should be doing for your actual workbook. So there's a petition form and a workbook to support you through this process that I'm going to show you shortly. And here is the process. So the first step is that you complete and submit the petition form and workbook to our division. And we then review it and let you know if it's ready to be served on tenants, or if it has errors, we let you know how to fix those errors and give you a resubmission date deadline. The third step is that we send a notice of formal filing to you and to your tenants. These are different. Once you serve your petition, we send a notice of formal filing to you and to your tenants. These are different letters. Yours has specific information and your tenants has specific response forms. And then the tenants have 30 days to respond to the petition, just to dispute information in the petitions. For instance, if you put in a pool, if you say, hey, our property does not have a pool, I want to have a lower common area deduction, and your property does have a pool, your tenants can dispute that deduction. So then we will review your petition calculations and the tenant response after those 30 days. We might request additional documentation depending on what your tenant's responses are. And then we have the time to determine if calculations are correctly calculated or if corrections are needed. If approved, we will send out a letter of a final determination. And then you, the property owner, need to determine if the adjustment is upward or downward and apply the adjustment accordingly. So what does that mean, you say? So for those utility charges to become part of rent, if the petition calculations are confirmed by staff, you, the property owner, need to determine if the utility adjustment is a downward adjustment or an upward adjustment using a form provided by the division that averages the utilities paid by each unit between July 1st of 2023 and June 30th of 2024 and compares that average against the amount of the one-time utility adjustment in the notice of final determination. We're going to go over that form today. If the amount in the notice of final determination is less than the average monthly utility paid by the tenant between July 1st of 2023 and June 30th of 2024, then the adjustment is a downward adjustment. If the amount in the notice of final determination is more than the average monthly utility paid by the tenant between July 1st, 2023 and June 30th, 2024, then the adjustment is an upward adjustment. And you as a tenant can dispute this portion of, or the tenants can dispute this portion of the process by filing a notice of dispute with the division. And if filed, we'll review the form provided to the division by the tenant and then determine if the adjustment is an upward or downward adjustment. So if the adjustment's a downward adjustment, you as the property owner must provide a 30-day rent decrease notice to the tenants immediately with the new total rent amount, current rent plus the utility adjustment. Tenants are no longer responsible for paying utility charges billed separately from rent or through RUBS incurred after the effective date of the rent decrease notice, unless the utility charges accrued prior to the end of the 30-day notice period. And then finally, tenants are responsible for paying the total rent amount, including the utility adjustment, once the notice becomes effective. They also will still need to pay their sub-metered utilities. So again, this is not for sub-metered utilities. This is not for bills, for the most part, that go to PG&E or Comcast or anything like that. If the adjustment is an upward adjustment, the property owner can add in the utility adjustment amount determined in the notice of final determination with the next annually allowed rent increase. So remember, if you have a rent increase, you can only increase rent every 12 months. If you do not want to give the annually allowed rent increase, that is okay, but you must give the utility adjustment without giving the annually allowed rent increase. If you do that, you won't be able to increase rent with the AGA for another 12 months. And to determine the allowed rent increase, if you are giving the AGA, you're first going to determine what the new increase would be with just the annual general adjustment percentage, which is 2.4% this year, on the existing rent, and then add the utility adjustment amount to that new rent. If the adjustment is an upward adjustment, you would give the utility adjustment with the annually allowed increase, and the rent increase must comply with all aspects of the CSFRA and state noticing requirements. If you're giving the utility adjustment separately from the annually allowed increase, the adjustment must be given 12 months after the last rent increase or 12 months after the start of the initial term of tenancy. And at all times before the utility adjustment goes into effect, the landlord may continue to use RUBS or any similar system for tenancy starting before March 1st. But then moving forward, once the utility adjustment is implemented, only utilities that are sub-metered or separately metered and charged directly to the tenants can be billed separately from rent. Again, like PG&E. I want to really highlight this next portion of the workshop that goes over what happens if you do not submit a petition within the deadlines. So if you do not submit a petition within the deadlines and your utilities are billed through RUBS, there are some significant consequences. you will forego the ability to add utility adjustment amount to the rent, and you can no longer charge separately for utilities. The current rent now automatically assumes to include utility charges. So right now, if you don't file this petition and you have a RUBS system, and you have, your current rent for the physical space is $1,100, and your tenants are paying, whatever their utilities are through RUBS, $300, $400 a month, that utility bill through RUBS goes away, and their rent now automatically at $1,100 includes those RUBS charges. So you really want to make sure that you get this petition in, submitted to us. It doesn't have to be served on your tenants. It doesn't have to be filed. It just has to be submitted to us by those deadlines that I talked about earlier. So not only are utilities not able to any longer be separately billed through RUBS, but also because this is an unlawful rent issue, tenants will be able to file unlawful rent petitions with the city to recover any overpayments due to RUBS charges. So since the very beginning of the CSFRA, utilities were supposed to be included in rent, not charged separately through RUBS. And if you forego this one-time process and you don't include utilities in RUBS utilities in your rent during this process, you will be subject to unlawful rent petitions where tenants can recover whatever they've overpaid in rent through the RUBS systems since the start of the CSFRA. So it could be quite a big amount of money that you could owe back if you don't do the petition process and you're required to do it. So just keep that in mind. Okay, are there any questions before I go into calculating the utility adjustment and taking a look at the forms and all of that kind of stuff? Quiet today. All righty, well, we will jump right into it then. This is good. I can give you some updates and let you know what the process looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to go ahead and share the petition form itself that you will need to work out. The workbook, I'm going to share the standard utilities workbook because it's the one that's most applicable to the most people. And then we're going to take a look at the notice of submission form. We're going to take a look at the notice of filing form that you'll receive from us. We're going to take a look at the adjustment calculator that you will also receive from us. And I'm going to show you an example of one of the things that you'll be providing to your tenants. All righty. So I'm going to stop my share for a moment and pull up the petition forms. Here we go. So this is what the utility adjustment petition looks like. It starts with a pretty extensive overview. So you got all of your instructions. You need to read these instructions. Please read the instructions. They are really informative. They start with an overview of the process, what you can expect, kind of what I just went over in those intro slides. And then it goes into how to prepare to file the petition. And this is where you should really focus your energy on. The first thing that you should do is review Chapter 13 of our regulations, and then familiarize yourself with the relevant terms, which are included in this petition packet. And then determine the workbook that's applicable to your property based on how tenancies in existence before March 1st are billed for utilities. So you're going to select one of these, and we're going to pick option A because for some reason, oh, I bet I selected the one that doesn't still. Let me check here. Oh, please bear with me for just one moment while I see if I have the right form or if it's just being picky today. Nope, it looks like I picked the one that is not fillable. Give me one moment and I will pick up a fillable form and then we can take a look at that one. My apologies for the slight delay here. Here we go. Okay, stop my share and I will share with you the correct form. All right, just gonna scroll down to where we were. So if you click on option A and then you click on the bills that are billed through RUBS and the bills that are billed through PG&E, you can see them there. So you know, okay, option A is for me. I'm gonna go ahead and look for that workbook. And then I'm gonna gather the following information. So this is all of the information that you need to know to complete that workbook. And it goes over all of the details of what you need to know. All right, so then here we have how to complete the petition, what you need to do for that by worksheet, the information that you need, and then how to submit the petition. So the petition submittal, again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You need to have tried to fill out both the petition form and the workbook. I really recommend coming to the Landlord Housing Help Center. It's every Thursday from 1 to 3. We will answer your questions or come to our office hours. Don't try to do this alone. We're here and happy to help you, and we will help answer your questions. So to get to the Landlord Housing Help Center, you can either come to our office at 298 Escuela, or you can join virtually at mountainview.gov/RS. What is it? Sorry, Housing Help Centers. So it's mountainview.gov/housing help clinics. And then you can also join our office hours at mountainview.gov/RSP office hours. Those are Tuesdays from 10 to noon. And either one of those will get you to staff. You can also come by our office for the Housing Help Center, and we're more than happy to help. If you have questions, you can also email us at mvren@mountainview.gov. So definitely don't try to just do this alone. We're here and we're happy to help. So you're going to submit your petition form and workbook and documentation to us when you think you're ready. You're going to either email it or hand deliver it or mail it to us. And remember, there are these really important submittal periods. So if you have more than 20 units, the deadline is February 28th. And then we have time to review your petition once you submit it to us. And if information or documentation is missing, we will notify you with a chance to supplement your petition. And if there's an issue, you have 15 business days from the date of the notice to submit new information to us. If you do not revise and resubmit your petition within 15 business days, you forgo the one-time ability to add a utility adjustment amount to the rent, and you can no longer separately charge for utilities. Once your petition is ready to be served on your tenants, you will receive a notice of submission review that says, go ahead and serve on your tenants with information on how to do that. And we will also send you the specific forms and information that you should provide to your tenant. So it says here in this that you should fill out and sign the notice of submission. That's correct. However, we're going to do a big chunk of that for you. I'm going to show you that today. And then you need to figure out how you'll serve the petition. For that, you need to sign the proof of service form and then attach information to the notice of submission and proof of service form. So you're going to have the notice of submission and proof of service, a completed and signed petition form, and a completed and redacted workbook. We're going to go and also make you a tenant version of the workbook. I'm going to show you what that looks like. We are going to take that on for you. If not, you would have had to go through a really kind of, I'm going to say, awful redaction process. Instead, we have come up with a method where each unit has a unique ID, and that is how people will figure out what their unit information says. You're going to then make 2 additional copies of the petition packet, one for your files and one for me, one for our division. And then you're going to serve the petition on your tenants and then file the petition with my office. If I already have a copy of your evidentiary documentation, you don't have to provide that to me again, but sending me the signed petition form and everything else is required. including the proof of services that you sent to your tenants. And then after that, you're going to receive a notice of formal filing from us, and we will also send one to your tenants. The notice that we send to your tenants will have a response form with it, and they will have 30 days, 30 calendar days to respond to the petition from the date on the notice of filing. If they respond, we will let you know and send you a copy of the response. And then, excuse me, finally, the evidentiary documentation is not provided to your tenants by you. If tenants would like to see a copy of it, they can request a redacted copy of it from our division. And then finally, our staff will review your petition that was formally filed with us, like we mentioned earlier, and figure out those calculations in the petition. I'm going to skip over this. We talked about it already. Here are the terms to know for your petition. So this is a good thing to familiarize yourself with. I want to call this out specifically. If you are a property manager, if you are not the owner of the property and you are planning to complete this petition on behalf of your property owner, you are going to need to complete a representative authorization form. This is available from us and it is on the website. Okay, skipping over this. This is what the actual form looks like. You're going to go ahead and start to fill out the general information by providing the landlord's information, what type of owner they are, if interpretation and translation support is required. If you are a representative, like I mentioned before, you must complete the authorization form and fill in this information. Then you're going to go ahead and put in the address, the parcel identification number, the purchase year, and the number of fully covered CSFRA residential units on the property. And then you'll submit your due date based on the number of units on the property and let us know what common areas are on the property. So if you have a pool, you're going to mark it here, landscaping, common laundry facility. And then your relevant workbook. You already selected your relevant workbook because you read the instructions and you figured this out. So it auto-populates this page for you. And then you're going to go ahead and as you tick through your workbook and figure out your documentation, you're going to go ahead and fill out section 6 here, documentation. You are going to need, if you have tenancies that started after March 1st, an example of those rental agreements that show that utilities are part of rent. You are going to provide evidence of submeters, and you are going to provide evidence of the per unit room count. You are also going to provide evidence of a pool, landscaping, common laundry area facilities, or an absence of those. For instance, you can take a screenshot of Google Maps satellite image that shows that you don't have a pool on your property. That is suffice. Or you can take a picture of your pool. That is suffice as well. There are specific language and definitions around landscaping. Landscaping in this has a specific definition. So non-exempt landscaping includes the use of one or more of the following for the common areas of the property: grass-based lawns, non-native drought-tolerant plants, or non-native non-drought-tolerant plants, above-ground sprinkler systems. If you have any of the above non-exempt items, your property is not eligible for an exemption from the common area deduction for landscaping, even if you include items from the exempt landscaping definition. To be exempt from landscaping for the common area deduction, you must use 2 or more of the following water-saving measures for common area property: water-wise landscaping using organic or porous mulching, native water-wise drought-tolerant plants, underground subsurface drip systems, drip emitter lines, and other water-saving measures. And I do want to note the existence of trees is not included in the definition of landscaping for this petition. Trees do not affect the exemption status. So just keep that in mind. So you're going to figure out if you have any exemptions for the common area deduction. And then you're also going to provide property-wide bills for utilities that are paid by the tenant directly to the landlord, or through a third-party billing service like RUBS, separately from rent. And you need to provide those bills from July 1st of 2023 through June 30th of 2024. And this is the time period that you need to include the bills for the services accrued during that time period and get as close to that 12-month period as possible. So we want to look at anything after July 1st. So if you have a bill that's June to August, that won't work for this. You're going to provide the August bill, okay? So your the next time period. We don't want to be splitting that time period up. We need the full 12 months. So it would be August, your August bill that starts the new service period. So you would provide August 1st of 20, or as close as possible to August 1st of 2023 through July 30th of 2024, as close as possible as you could get, if that makes sense. If you are not using workbook A or workbook B, you are using workbook C, and that's for our condensed people who already include utilities in part of rent. For that, you would be providing this information. If you have any missing documentation, you're going to describe the missing documentation and the reason why it is unavailable. You can provide some information to us if you have any explanations that you'd like to provide. And then finally, once everything is ready to be served on your tenants, you're going to go ahead and sign and date the petition. So this is the petition form. It is pretty short and simple. And then we also have the petition workbook. I'm going to go ahead and show that to you, but this is going to be a brief example of what that workbook looks like. Give me 1 second to bring it up. Okay, here we go. So it starts with instructions. Please, again, read the instructions. It will be very helpful to you. You need to fill out each worksheet and then provide evidence for what you're claiming in there. And each piece of evidence should be labeled by the line item and worksheet that you're using. So the first worksheet is contact information for your tenants. It's pretty self-explanatory. Then we go into one of our more detailed worksheets. Worksheet 2 has information that once you provide it will help auto-populate everything in green. So anytime you see something in green, those cells are locked and they can't be edited by you, but you can put information in all of the other ones. I'm going to go ahead and just fill this out so that you can see how it works. We have a drop-down menu here. So each type of unit has a specific coding, and it is coming up with our per unit room count. So when we say room count for these petitions, we are not talking about the number of bedrooms. We are talking about the number of rooms in the unit. And that means that we're adding in kitchen and living room. And then that gets us to our total calculation of rooms for the unit. So in this case, we have a 3-bedroom plus a kitchen plus a living room, which means that we have 5 rooms in that unit. This is all going to do that work for you, okay? And then in this petition process, there is a comparator. So you have your Mountain View, City of Mountain View allowance for utilities based on the actual bills that you provide us. And then you have this Santa Clara County utility allowance that is based on a complex reference schedule that we have built into these petition forms. So you don't have to worry about the calculations and how it works. But we are looking at these two numbers, and that's how this process works. It takes the lower amount of what's provided in this form. So in this, for the building makeup, you're looking at the number of units in the building. So if you have a building with 5 or more units, I'm going to say everyone in this property lives in the same building. So we have 7 units on this property. I'm just going to click this same one for all of them. They are all in one building. Okay, so you can see it picked up from this reference chart the information that it needed to complete that section. So we don't have to worry about that column. And then we go on to whether or not the unit is occupied. And I'm going to show you what happens if it's vacant versus what happens if it's occupied. So I'm going to give us one vacant unit and a bunch of occupied units. And we'll end it with a vacant unit. Okay. And then I'm going to put in the move-in date. So this is really important. We are checking to see if those move-in dates are after March 1st of 2024. Okay, so if it's if it's on or after March 1st of 2024, those utilities need to be included in rent already. Okay, so just know that we are taking a good look at that and including that in our review for the petition. So I'm just going to put in some made up dates here. 2019 is what I wanted to put there. I'm going to make up a few more. And we had a lot of people moving in July, March 2022. Okay, so I'm going to put in their current rent. Everyone here on this property is paying $1,500 to make this just go faster. And for units where people have recently moved in, so I'm going to say that this person received a rent increase this year. If they just moved in, you're going to leave it blank. And if it's vacant, excuse me, if it's vacant, you're going to leave it blank. So this one's vacant. They actually don't have anyone there. And then here they moved in, and I'm going to say that yes, they received a rent increase this year. This person just moved in, so I'm going to put in the move-in date. And I'm going to go ahead and say that this person received a rent increase this year. This person received a rent increase last year. And this person also received a rent increase this year. Okay, so next you're going to identify how the unit is charged for water. So for this person, it is paid to RUBS, sewer is paid to RUBS, and trash is paid to RUBS. For our vacant unit, we're leaving it blank. The person who just moved in August, we are going to let the rent stabilization division know that they are included in rent like they should be. And if it was sub-metered, we would include that. That is perfectly fine. And most of our tenants here are paying through RUBS, right? So we're going to let the workbook know that. So this worksheet is really kind of your heaviest lift, okay? This is the one that's going to take you the most time because the rest are automated to fill in information from these other worksheets, okay? So this is your hardest one. Once you get through this one, you're pretty much done. So the next worksheet that you're going to put information in is the one talking about those common area deductions. If you have a pool, you're going to say, yes, I have a pool. And you'll click yes. If you have landscaping, remember it has that definition there, you're going to say yes. For the sake of this example, I'm going to say, no, I don't have landscaping. I have water smart property owner, and I have taken care to make sure that I have drip irrigation and drought tolerant plants. So I am claiming a 5% deduction, and I do have laundry facilities. So in this case, it's looking at my basic standard common area deduction, and then taking this exemption because I do not have landscaping, I have now a common area deduction of 15%. You can see it's up here, final common area deduction, good to go. Now I'm going to my bills. So I'm going to enter in my water bill with my dates. Again, my water bill starts in August through it's 2 months, so it goes through 9/30, 2023. And I'm just going to show that for the whole year. I'm going to do that for water, sewer, and trash. And right now, though, I'm going to, for the sake of our example, just enter in some numbers. I'm not going to show all of the months that I need to provide. I'm going to skip a whole bunch of months, and then I'm going to put in what I would need to do for the last month, just so that you have a good working example. Okay, I'm going to now copy these. Oh, I got a typo there. Fix that. Yes. Can't have typos. Okay. And then for my last months here, my last months are going to be my June through July bills of 2024, okay? So that gives us a full 12-month period. Now, if your bills start in July, you're going to use your July bills. If your bills start in mid-July, you're going to use your mid-July bills. If your bills don't start until August, you're going to use your August bills. We just need to get as close as we can to that July 1st, 2023 date, okay? And then you're going to go over here and you're going to tell me what the utility type is. This is really important. It is coded into our next sheets. So you need to select this, and you'll also see it's coded into this sheet. So remember, again, anytime you see anything in green, there is a code. So I'm going to skip. You can put in, your service period, 8/1/2023 to 9/30. I'm not going to do this for all of them. I guess I can here. Let's do it like this. Oh, this is actually good to know. If you copy and paste your cells, it will sometimes, you see how it skipped to the second and third? If you don't want it to show that because that's not right, just click copy cells and it'll show you exactly what you just copied. So again, drag down. Oh, look, doing weird stuff again. Copy cells. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to enter in some charges. So I'm going to say that this was 1,000 and 1,100 and 2,000 and 1,200 or 12,000 and 3,000. I'm just making up numbers right now. And 1,400. Okay. So you can see here, it is taking for your trash bills what you inputted here. So 2,000 plus 1,400 makes 3,400. And it's doing that for all of your utilities, okay? And then in worksheet 5, it does all of the math for you again. And it's taking all of your information from those water charge totals and putting it here. You can see it matches up to what I just did. And then it's taking your common area deductions and the number of rooms on the property, and it starts mathing for you. It's taking care of all of the math for you, okay? So you don't have to do the complicated math here. It's figuring out the water calculation of utility charges per room for each room on your property, and then sewer, and then trash. And then it auto-populates your information. Oh, look at that. It's all the way down at 500 for your property. So it is saying here, we have our studio, all of the information that we put in that worksheet 2, and it is reading all of that information for us. And then it's pulling from our utilities total and telling us for this unit what the City of Mountain View water allowance per month is versus the Santa Clara County water allowance per month, okay? And then it's doing that same thing for each utility. It's looking at that information, and then we have a total utility adjustment. So that is water, sewer, and trash all added together. And for the city utility adjustment, and then the county comparator. And it is looking at them and it's saying, okay, the City of Mountain View one is 107, and over here it's 173. So what does that mean? Well, it's going to look at your per unit allowance in this worksheet 7. And again, it's doing all the work for you. So you don't have to do the calculations yourself. So it's looking at whether or not the unit's vacant or occupied, all of those calculations we just talked about. And then it's selecting which one is less. So you have to pick the lower one between the city adjustment and the Santa Clara County adjustment. And once it does that, it figures that out itself, and then it adds the CPI increase. So that's the consumer price rate index of inflation for the inflationary period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th of 2024. And it is adding that to your new total. Okay. And then finally, we have your proposed rent adjustment per unit. So it's going to go through all of this, and then you have to fill out this last column E and let us know what you want your proposed adjustment to be. It can be exactly the same as whatever's here, or it can be less. Some property owners are choosing to do a little less. So we left that option in, but you need to fill out worksheet 8. All right, so you're going to provide the petition form, and you're going to provide this completed workbook. And you're going to say, and you're going to provide me some evidentiary documentation. You're going to say, Patricia, I'm ready for you to take a look at this. I'm going to submit my forms to you. And say, great. And then I have a spreadsheet and I put that date in it and I say they submitted their forms on this date, good to go. And then I and my staff have time to review your forms and your worksheets and your evidentiary documentation. It's taking us a little about 20 to 30 days right now to review them and to do the next steps in the process. So I'm going to go ahead and lower this and then take questions before I go on to the next phase of the process. It looks like I have one question in the Q&A. This looks like someone who is using the all utilities spreadsheet. And for this particular question, I will actually, Darcy, can you please reach out to me and email me specifically so that we can go over that very particular workbook together? My email address is patricia.black@mountainview.gov, and then we can review what you should be putting in there, okay? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open up what you will receive from me if once we review your petition submission. So no matter what, if you have a stellar perfect petition submission or you need to make changes, you're going to get this from me. So you are going to receive a notice of petition submission, and it's going to be marked up. Okay, if it is good, you will see it'll say ready to serve. You'll have a big X there. This will be highlighted in blue, and then the petition submission box will be marked, and it tells you exactly what you need to do. Okay, it has all of this information in it for you. And you will need to read that carefully, all right? So we will send you an email, and that email, if your petition is ready to serve, will have this form in it with those boxes marked, and it will include a copy of your petition form, a copy of your workbook. So one of the things that we're doing for you is in your workbook, I'm going to stop share again real quick, and I'm going to share the workbook again so that you can see what we're doing. After you submit, and on my end, I say, this is good to be served on tenants. Our staff is doing some extra work for you all to make it much easier for you in this process, okay? For the first thing that we're doing is that you, as the landlord, will receive a complete workbook back from us, okay? And it will have worksheet 1 in it, and it will have worksheet 2 in it with the unit numbers. It's also going to have a new column, and that new column will say unique ID. We are making a unique ID for your workbook for each unit. This means that all of the private tenant information that's in here is now gone when we give it to the tenants. So again, you're going to have this complete Excel file. It's going to have worksheet 1. It's going to have worksheet 2 with the unit numbers and the unique ID. But what you're giving to the tenants is a PDF that we will have created for you for your tenants. And that PDF, it will not have worksheet 1. Okay, it's not going to have it at all. And then worksheet 2 will have a unique identifier instead of a unit number. And those unique identifiers are random and sorted. So your tenant will not know whose information is relevant to other units. Okay, so all of that we've taken care of for you so that you as a property owner don't have to go and redact each and every workbook. We recognize that that would have been just a huge lift, and we don't want you to have to do that. So you're probably thinking, well, what does this actually mean? What does this look like? I'm going to show you an example of what this looks like. Okay. So let me pull up this example. Okay. Let's see. So you are going to give your tenants this. They are going to have a special example or a special form, okay, a special workbook. This, again, does not have worksheet 1 with all the tenant contact information, and it does not have unit-specific identifiers. It has unique IDs instead. And you're probably wondering, well, how does the tenant know about this unique ID? Well, we have also created a proof of service for you, okay? And this proof of service for you, we are auto-populating with the unique IDs. I'm going to go ahead and share that with you as well so you can see what it looks like. Hold on 1 second while I pull it up. Hopefully. Okay. So we have made the proof of service for you. So this is what you're giving to your tenants when you're ready to serve your petition on them. And if it pulls up, here we go. Go ahead and share this. Okay, so this is what it looks like. It will have the primary name of your tenant, the address, the unit number, and the unique ID already filled out for you for each and every unit on your property. It will also have the unique ID right here. Okay, so in all of this on this front page is going to be filled out when you receive this back from us. And then on the back, it will also have this information filled out already. Okay, and then all you need to do on this form is let the tenant and us know how you plan to serve this. And then you go ahead and you fill out your signature and the day, month, and year that you are serving this on them. Okay, so you're going to fill that out. If you do email, you're going to go ahead and mark it, put in the day. So we're going to go with the 21st day of, oh my goodness, November. And then you're going to put in the year here, 24. And then you're going to do the same thing here. So you'll put in the day, the month, and the year, and then you'll have to sign this. So you're going to do that for each tenant. You're going to do that only in English, but you will be providing this form in Spanish and Mandarin for your tenants. Okay, so each unit, we will provide you this giant packet of all of these it'll be combined. You'll have to separate them out, but each unit will have the bulk of this already filled out for you with those unique IDs. So you're going to provide this proof of service form, the petition, and the workbook, that tenant version that I just went over. It is PDF'd for you already. You will provide that to your tenants, and then your tenants will take their unique ID and figure out which unit is a which unique ID is their information on this worksheet. Okay, so let me see if we can take a look at this one more time. So their proof of service will say something like 001 on it. They're going to look for 001 on here, and then they're going to go through the workbook for their unit. Okay, so that's how that works. And again, we've tried to make it as kind of user-friendly for you as possible, and hopefully it is. And then once you serve it on your tenants, and we say, great, we've received it, we send out a notice of filing to your tenants, and then we also send out a notice of filing to you. This is what that looks like for you. So you're going to get this from me when you file it. It's going to say, thank you for filing this. We have time, your tenants have time to review it. Goes over those details on what you need to do next and what your next steps are. So your next step is complete the averaging calculations for upward or downward adjustment of rent. What does that mean? That means that you need to get the utilities for each unit as they were provided to your tenants from the utility service provider. So from RUBS, you need to get the bills for each and every unit from July 1st of 2023 through June 30th of 2024. And then you're going to fill out this little handy dandy form. I'm going to share this form with you as well. We are going to give this form to you when you receive the notice of filing. So again, don't wait to start this process. Once you get the notice of filing from us, you're going to want to start it. So for each tenancy, for each unit that this is affecting, you'll need to fill this out at the end of the process once you receive the notice of final determination from us. You're going to fill out this critical information here, and then you're going to go ahead and really this is where you want to be focusing for the next 30 days. So you're going to put in all of the start period of service and the end period of service, and then how much it charged. I'm only going to enter in the charges for you right now so you can see that it is going to math for you again. So you don't have to worry about this math. It's going to figure it out. And I'm going to show you what that means. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Okay. Now it has done all of this math for us. It added everything up. It then divided it by 12. And then applied that consumer price index increase. So it is going to take that number for you and just auto calculate it there. And then we're going to make up a number here. So for our utility adjustment amount, it is 155. And if we compare 165 versus 178, we know that 165 is less than. So we're going to look and figure out what that means. So 165 is less than 178. So that means that this adjustment is a downward adjustment. So I'm going to click that so that the tenant knows that this is a downward adjustment. Okay. And then the tenants have a right to dispute whether or not it's an upward or downward adjustment by filing a specific notice of dispute with us, which we'll provide to you once this process is ready to happen. So you're going to work on this. You can't provide these forms to them yet because you don't know what this amount is. Okay. So this amount will only become available to you once you've received the notice of final determination from the city. Okay. But you can get started on this part. So you're going to want to. Once all of this is done, once the notice of final determination is sent from my staff to you and to your tenants, then you will send this to your tenants. And if it's a downward adjustment, you need to let them know immediately that it's a downward adjustment and give them 30 days. And if it's an upward adjustment, there are those options that we talked about. The notice of final determination will give you those details. So you don't have to memorize them right now. You still have quite a while for this process to kind of finalize and play out. So don't stress about that. But I did want to just start talking about the next steps in the process today, because some of you are starting to receive notices of filing, and I don't want you to be surprised. Okay, so that is all that I have for the actual presentation of new information. But I'm going to go ahead and provide you with contact information so that you can reach us, and then I'll answer some questions. So let me pull up my presentation again so that you can see our contact information. And here's the details. So we have that Housing Help Center for landlords and property owners that I mentioned. It's every Thursday from 1 to 3. You can either come directly into our office at 298 Escuela, or you can join virtually at mountainview.gov/housing help clinics. It's every Thursday. We also have our office hours every Tuesday. Those are virtual, and that you can reach by going to mountainview.gov/RSP office hours. Okay, so this is our contact information, so keep that in mind. And you can email us at mvrent@mountainview.gov or give us a phone call at 650-903-6136. You will not receive a pickup hello from us. You'll need to leave a message, and we will get back to you within 24 hours. All right, so I think I have some questions. Let's see. On the workbook on tab 4, do we need to add all bills for May to August, or do we enter one bill for May to June, June to July, July to August, an example, or do we add all months and submit? Nope. You are going to enter each and every one that you submit to us. So if you have, you're going to be looking from July 1st of 2023 through June 30th of 2024, or as close to those dates as possible, as long as the bills are after July 1st of 2023. So you're going to put in each one. Most utilities are billed every 2 to 3 months. If it's every 2 to 3 months, you're going to put in that full time period. So just like I showed in that example where in this hypothetical, the bill was every 2 months, I showed you the first 2-month periods and the last 2-month periods, but I skipped over all of the middle. So I didn't show all 6 of the bills. I only showed what would be the equivalent of 2 of the bills. And then you're going to need to provide all of those bills to us. Okay. Are there any other questions today? I am more than happy to answer as we finish up our workshop. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, so if you don't have any questions right now, that's okay. I know it's a ton of information that we just covered. You can go ahead and contact me, contact our division, reach out. We're always here to help. And just keep in mind that we'll have another one of these workshops in December, and we'll go a little bit further into the process. We're going to keep chipping away at this process together. And these workshops are always available on our YouTube channel, which you can access just by going to mountainview.gov/rubs, scrolling down and clicking on the workshop link. So know that that's there. You'll also get an email tomorrow, likely tomorrow, or Monday from us that has the PowerPoint, and it will also have a link to the workshop that you just participated in, so you can reference it at any time. Again, reach out to me. My name's Patricia, and we're here to help. So thank you again for joining, and we'll see you soon. Have a good afternoon.